The Missing is a brilliant book. This was written by C.L. Taylor. It was published originally in 2016 by Avon. And I don't want to say too much about the narrative because I thoroughly recommend it. But I will talk a little bit without any spoilers. And this is mostly told from the perspective of Claire. And we learn quite quickly, the pacing in this novel is really great. We learn that her son is missing. And there are a few things I really love about this. There is one thing I want to praise, but with a spoiler warning, so I will do that at the end. But her son is missing, but her son is a 15-year-old boy called Billy. He's been missing for about 6 months at the time of the beginning of the novel. And we learn that he's not the most likable character. He is, in some ways, a typical teenager, but he's in his phase of rebellion. He's graffitiing, he's rebelling against authority. He's basically treating all of the adults in his life with tremendous disrespect. And that's really fascinating to have a character who's missing, a character in theory we're meant to, emotionally feel sorry for, emotionally worry about, but also someone who's very unlikable. And when I kind of realized that this was his personality, I did think, am I going to be able to connect with the narrative? Am I going to be able to care about him? But well, I don't know if I ever cared about Billy as a character, but certainly I cared about his mother, and I was really, really curious to find out what was going on. But I really liked that he was maybe not the most likable of characters, because usually when we have a missing person story, it's somebody who is either a very young child or somebody who is quite likable and is a good person, and you can't imagine them getting into any trouble, so how could they possibly be going missing? But because Billy is quite a complex but also very realistic character, it's a different kind of reading experience, and I think that that worked really, really well. I will also say that I don't think there are any I don't think there's anything given away too soon. For me, I didn't work out what was going on. I had my suspicions and I was wrong, and I'm glad about that. Something I've mentioned before is that when I'm reading a thriller, when I'm reading a story about a missing person, I don't want to work it out. I want the reveal to shock me, to surprise me, but also for it to make sense when you look back and have the benefit of hindsight. And I feel like it ticks all of those boxes perfectly. I also want to praise the writing style. I'm very I'm very difficult to please when it comes to contemporary fiction because I just feel like publishing standards are not always that great in this century, certainly over the last decade or so, but absolutely beautiful writing style, great publishing quality. I read the ebook version rather than the paperback, just as a point of interest there, but I I really, really thoroughly enjoyed the writing style. There wasn't anything about it that irritated me, and that's saying something because with contemporary fiction, it's very easy to irritate me. So, a lot of praise for the writing style, a lot of praise for the narrative itself. The characters are all very well written, very well developed, and there's something that happens that I wasn't sure I was going to like. There's something that keeps happening to Claire. You'll know exactly what it is when you read it. And to begin with, I thought I don't love this part of the narrative. I don't love what's happening to her, but I soon warmed to it. And eventually I came round to actually seeing the value that it added to the narrative and and kind of enjoyed the mystery element that that brought to it as well. There are no complaints from me about this. There's nothing about it that didn't work. Really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I will now, with a spoiler warning, explain something else that I want to praise it for that I think was done so well. And this is a big spoiler, so please don't listen to me anymore if you plan on reading it, and I do thoroughly recommend it. So, at the end of the book, at the very, very end, we learn, of course, what happened. And what happens doesn't necessarily paint Billy in the most favourable light. There's a chance he did something really heroic. I don't know if I believe he did or not. I think it's open to interpretation. And that's mostly the discussion of did he trip? Was it intentional? I don't know. I can't make up my mind. I think maybe he didn't intend on doing what he did and things happening the way it did. I know I said spoiler warning, I'm still kind of pussyfooting around it because I really don't want to spoil too much. But the point there is that potentially he did something that would make him look a little bit better. I don't know what side of the belief I'm on there. But either way, he's still not painted in a very positive light at all. And that is so unusual, again, for a character to go missing and for us to be emotionally connected to the journey, but maybe not to like the actual character who's gone missing, or to at least not like their behaviors. And the fact that this was sustained all of the way through, and even at the end, Claire had very mixed feelings about her son and what he'd done. And I love that. I love that it didn't, at the 11th hour, flip things around and make us suddenly go, oh, poor Billy, let's, feel really sorry for him. It was a very realistic portrayal of both the character of Billy and also how his mother felt. And I love that. And I have to really praise the novel for keeping things real and for making things a little bit different to the average novel like this. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. The Missing is brilliantly written, both in terms of grammar and the writing style, and also in terms of how the narrative is constructed. Thoroughly, thoroughly recommend it. I enjoyed every second of it.